Yo, everybody, what's up? It's your ball here to talk about some more Steeler news. Hit like and subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and support the channel. And thank to you all who take the time out to listen to me rant and rave about the Pittsburgh Steelers, my hometown team. It's been a wild couple of weeks. Lately, I haven't been on here because I've been just waiting to gather thoughts for a real take on real news, not to continue is Aaron Rodgers signing? Is he not signing? Do we really want him? Which me personally, I think is all a bunch of garbage. So here are some of the things that I've been checking on and hearing. I don't know if you all listen to DK Sports. I listen to DK Sports. In particular, his one shots or daily shots. And sometimes he has a double shots where he talks about the Pirates and the Penguins, which I don't particularly care about the Pirates or the Penguins. I'm a Steelers fan. And so that's what I predominantly listen to his takes for. And he makes some interesting takes about the Steelers. You know, I've heard people say this before. I heard the whole narrative about the Steelers brass and the organization and the way they go about doing things. So there are a lot of fans. When I was on Bleacher Report and in the community, fans, I'm tired of the mediocrity as well. I want to win a playoff game. I want to advance further. I want a franchise quarterback. If you all have listened to any of my videos, you know that I don't really particularly like what I've seen from Arthur Smith. I sure enough didn't like what I saw from Matt Canada. It's a old, stale offense that hasn't evolved in the route concepts and blocking schemes. I think it was interesting that they came in and implemented a zone blocking scheme with backs that they knew didn't particularly fit those schemes. So it was almost like they had decided that they were going to let Najee go before the season started. Because why wouldn't you, as a coach, come in and you see that Najee was doing well towards the second half of the 2023 season and work towards his strengths? Why would you try to put a square peg in a round hole? But we know that the Steelers are notorious for doing things like that, drafting left tackles, having them start 2 years at right tackles, drafting right guards, having them start for 2 or 3 years at left guard, only to see them go off to other teams and flourish, drafting undersized centers and guards and having them play out of position, and drafting defensive ends and making them play nose tackle, and just a myriad of, I understand being well-rounded, but especially with rookies, putting them out of position, expecting them to learn new positions and to excel at them and count on them as a foundation of your team or being main contributors of your team. And they're out of position. They're out of their normalcy. It's something that when you drafted them, if you draft a left tackle that was a high draft pick coming out of college as a left tackle, whether he was a All-American or not, even if he can play right tackle, he excelled at left tackle. So draft if you need a left tackle. This projection stuff, it's not working well for you. You're not good at it. So, I have my qualms about the way the Steelers do things sometimes. I understand that they don't want to be paying coordinators while they're sitting at home. So this is why they choose to let coordinators' contracts expire, and then they move on with them or try to renegotiate with them to bring them back. That's how it works. And that's how it has worked with the Rooneys ever since Mike Tomlin has been there. I'm not quite sure about the Bill Cowher era, but I am sure about the Mike Tomlin era. And hey, that's the way you want to do business. It's not always effective. It kind of holds you back, but hey, that's the way you want to do business. But this whole nonsense that it's necessary to start rebuilding, tearing down, and to go 3-13 and then draft a franchise. I do not want to see a 3-13 football team. I don't want to turn on my television. I won't show up for games to watch a 3-13 football team. There are more examples of teams that go 3-13 for 8, 9, 10 years, talking about rebuilding for an inexact science such as the draft and free agency. Listen, yes, the Steelers have been mediocre or average over the last 5 or 6 years. And Mike Tomlin, yes, he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. Now, unless you watch football and base your fandom on anything less than facts, you're not totally getting the picture of what is actually transpiring. First of all, let's go back to 2017, the last time the Steelers were in the playoffs with a franchise quarterback, a healthy franchise quarterback, not 2020 and 2021 when Ben Roethlisberger was coming off elbow surgery and couldn't get away from the defense anymore, lost his mobility. 2017, when they had that high-flying offense, but that defense was giving up a lot of yardage. And that's evident because in the playoff game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Steelers scored 42 points, I believe, and Jacksonville scored 45. So you can say what you want. Even when Ryan Shazier was there, they still were giving up points because all of the money was spent on offense. Antonio Brown, one of the highest paid players in the league. They had Ben Roethlisberger, one of the highest paid players in the league. At that time, with the salary cap, where it was 8, 9 years ago, Ben Roethlisberger was making $25 million, $26 million a year, which put him, I think he was top 10 paid quarterback, if not top 5, but definitely top 10. They were paying the offensive line. DeCastro was getting paid. Marquise Pouncey was getting paid. Roman Foster was not getting paid an all-pro salary, but Antonio Brown was, and on the defense, Cam Hayward was getting paid, and who else was on that team? Joe Hayden, I think, was making $7 million a year. So their salary cap was primarily spent on offense. And in 2017, I think that Le'Veon Bell was on a 1-year franchise tag for what, $14.5 million he played? So their defense wasn't capable of stopping passing attacks. They got ate up defensively. And they gave up a lot of yardage in between the hashes. In 2016, I don't know, what's this revisionist history that some of the fans are thinking of? They don't realize that the Steelers, yes, they were in the AFC Championship game. I don't think Le'Veon Bell made it through the first quarter. In 2015, I could have swore they showed up to a divisional playoff game against the Denver Broncos with no Antonio Brown, with no Le'Veon Bell, with no Martavius Bryant. Was Martavius Bryant in that game? I'm not really sure. They were down. They were wide receivers. I can't remember the wide receivers' name. I can't remember their names. And still had a defense that wasn't one of the top 15 defenses in the league. Yeah, they were generating sacks, but they were still giving up large amounts of yardage. And so they still almost pulled that game out. In 2014, that team had just started to build itself with that offense. Le'Veon Bell was in his second year. That's when he exploded onto the scene. Antonio Brown was in the midst of not in the midst, but I guess it was in the midst of five catches, 50 yards a game for 13, 14 straight game. I think he just had his third 1,000-yard season. Martavius Bryant, I believe, had just got drafted, so he was just coming onto the scene. Keith Miller was still there. So they had just started building that team because 2013 was a terrible season, 8-8. And I think they started out that season like 0-3, 0-4. So there's a lot of games or playoff games where we went into the playoff games empty-handed. I don't even think Le'Veon Bell played a playoff game until 2017 or 2015 when they played against the Dolphins, 2016 when they beat the Dolphins. And then they beat the Dolphins. I think they beat the Bills, and then that's when they went into the Patriots season. So you guys who are experts, you like researching, you can check some of my facts as far as the teams because this is just off recollection. But we can argue back and forth. Like a lot of times, the Steelers went into a lot of those games empty-handed or not at full strength, or some of the expectations that we had for them were a little bit ridiculous. And I'm not saying they could have beat the Patriots in 2016, but they would have had a better chance if Bell had played the whole game. If he had played most of the game, he didn't even play 3 quarters. And so, that 2020 team had an excellent defense. But once again, nobody thought that when they started out that season 11-0 that they were an 11-0 team. Nobody thought that. And even 2021, that was a throwaway season. That Ben should have been gone. He should have been gone. He should have hung it up because he could no longer. Not only couldn't he escape the rush anymore, but he couldn't throw the ball deep anymore. And so by the time we drafted Kenny Pickett and we were going to the playoffs in 2023 when we played against the Chiefs, did anybody in their right mind, like seriously, did anybody in their right mind think they were going to win that game? Did anybody in their right mind think they were going to be competitive in that game? In 2022, when they played the Chiefs, did anybody think they were going to be competitive in that game? Did anybody expect the Steelers to go into Buffalo last year and actually win that game? I thought they were going to be competitive, which they weren't competitive, but I didn't think they were going to win. Oh, you're not a real Steeler fan if you don't think they're going to win. Shut up. Cut that nonsense out. I'm not a real Steelers fan because I'm realistic. I'm realistic. That's not, support is not watching the game, not wanting them to win. Yes, I want them to win every game, which is why I don't like rebuilds. I don't want to sit down and watch teams get slaughtered. I don't care what anybody says. Every time an offseason comes, you should prepare yourself to try to win the Super Bowl the next year, whatever you got to do. In this age of free agency, in this age of cap restructuring, contract restructuring, compensatory picks, draft picks, you can find a way. I don't care how many franchise quarterbacks are in the league. There have been enough teams that have reached the Super Bowl and have won the Super Bowl without a quote-unquote franchise quarterback. Jeff Hostetler wasn't a franchise quarterback. What is his name from Philadelphia? I forgot his name. That came in for Carson Wentz a couple of years ago. He wasn't a franchise quarterback. Colin Kaepernick took the 49ers to the Super Bowl. He wasn't a a franchise quarterback. Doug Williams won a Super Bowl with the Redskins. He was not a franchise quarterback. Heck, Neil O'Donnell took the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Super Bowl. He wasn't a franchise quarterback. You can make it to the Super Bowl. You can be a perennial playoff team without a franchise quarterback. The greatest quarterback that we talk about in NFL history was drafted in the 6th round. Oh, these are aberrations. I understand that these are lightning in the bottle. Okay, Brock Purdy's another lightning in the bottle. Jalen Hurts is another lightning in the bottle. People are clamoring for Dak Prescott. He's a lightning in the bottle. Lightning strikes out all periods of time. You know, even Aaron Rodgers, he wasn't a top 10 draft pick. We picked 21st in the draft this year. Aaron Rodgers was drafted 25th overall. So all this noise about tearing down, you're going to tear down all your assets when you can go and fill those holes. The Steelers entered free agency this year with $62 million in cap space. Now, you mean to tell me, based on last season, you mean to tell me that $62 million can't improve the team enough between that and the draft where they have a shot at making a run in the playoffs? You're going to tear all that down to rebuild, to find a quarterback that might turn out to be not Dante Culpepper. That might turn out to be that quarterback that was drafted by the Raiders that could throw 60 yards on his knees. Him. Or how about Ryan Leaf? Or how about Anthony Richardson? Would you want to draft him? How about him? How about another Kenny Pickett? Would you like to have him? You know, would you like to have him? And let's think about it this way too. What quarterback in a draft can you go out and get right now that's better than Aaron Rodgers? Even at 41 years of age. You talk all that stupid talk. So you can talk it all you want. The man's a 4-time MVP. Screw his attitude. Who do you know likes Michael Jordan's attitude? I guarantee you that play with him again to win 6 championships. We need to start dealing with reality and cut that fandom, all in your feelings stuff out. Aaron Rodgers, coming off an Achilles injury, is a better quarterback than Russell Wilson. A man that can't run anymore and never could see over the defense because of his height and made his fame off of broken plays or getting outside of the pocket and throwing deep balls. So now that he can barely get outside of the pocket anymore, he's an average quarterback, which is fine. Aaron Rodgers is not the Aaron Rodgers of old. No, he's not. He's still an above average quarterback. At this particular time, without any significant improvement, Mason Rudolph is still better than Justin Fields. Would I have liked to keep Justin Fields? Yes. Because of the upside, yes. But if you're watching those games, if you were watching the games last year, how many times did wide receivers come open? Especially if you're watching all 22. How many times did wide receivers come open and Justin Fields couldn't hit the open receiver? And what are we talking about? Do a lot of you all actually know football or watch football? And a lot of times I say things that are maybe like biased. Like, oh, have you ever played on football? Have you ever put on a pair of shoulder pads and played organized football? Because I played a little organized football. I've hit people. I understand people. I've been hit. I understand certain concepts. Now, I'm not a guru, and I'm not an expert, and I'm not an analysis. But I don't base my thought process off of my feelings because I'm tired of seeing mediocrity. I understand why the mediocrity is happening. I'm not a big fan of Mike Tomlin. I understand his value. I understand his shortcomings. I don't like his in-game processing and decision-making. He sticks with one player too long and not enough players this too long. And I don't like I just told you what I don't like. But what I really don't like is when the fans say silly stuff, like tear down the whole franchise to get a higher draft pick to draft a quarterback. That's a crapshoot. A guy can be highly talented, get to the NFL, get millions of dollars in his hands, and not want to work hard anymore. He may get to the NFL and the route concepts and the offenses may be too intricate for him to execute. But yet and still, you want to make these drastic changes. Now, yeah, we all understand that the cream rises to the top, and the better quarterbacks have been drafted throughout history in the first half of the draft. We also can go through every draft every year and count the amount of busts that were supposed to be great quarterbacks, Johnny Manziels, and have failed. So, in my analysis today, in my conversation today, what is it that we want? What is it that we want? And if Aaron Rodgers becomes a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, I can guarantee you he's going to have influence on that vanilla offense that Arthur Smith likes to run. And I can also guarantee you Arthur Smith is going to try to build a running game to at least try to protect Aaron Smith. They're going to work hand in hand, and I guarantee you they're going to get better results than Russell Wilson. Because Aaron Smith, people say he don't throw over the middle. He throws over the middle better than Russell Wilson. Aaron Rodgers throws over the middle better than Russell Wilson. He also gets the ball out quicker. So he's not sitting around taking sacks all the time. Sports Talk, Steelers Sports Talk, put out a metric. And last year it says that Russell Wilson was 26th in the league in taking sacks last year. 26th in the league in taking sacks. Aaron Rodgers was 6th. A guy that people say can't move out of the pocket anymore. A guy that people say doesn't throw over the middle. He was 6th in the league, coming off an Achilles injury. You don't think he's going to be stronger this year. You think that his mental processing is not going to improve like the way it improved during the second half. He played bad. Everybody in the New York Jets uniform played bad last year. And the man still threw, 23, 24 touchdowns against 9 interceptions last year? Whereas the Jets improved during the second half of last year, Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers got worse. And yes, their defense gave up a lot of points. That's true. They were also giving up a lot of points when Justin Fields was playing as he was getting better. So yeah, I think Justin Fields was getting better. Yes, I do. I do think he was getting better. And I don't think that we should have let him go. Hey, but I tell you this much. It's possible during the third round of the 2024 NFL draft that a similar version of Justin Fields that runs a 4.3 40 will be available to the Steelers to pick. And his name is Jalen Milroe. Not Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. Now, yes, does he struggle throwing the ball? Yeah, he does. Does Justin Fields struggle throwing the ball? Yes, he does. But what difference do it make? You're not going to get Arch Manning or any other quarterback, Drew Eller. You're not going to get them this year. They're not even in the draft. And outside of Cam Ward, like who would you draft in the first round? Jackson Dart? That's who you want in the first round? Originally, he was projected to be a third-round quarterback, third-round pick. Shedeur Sanders, who keeps sliding up and down and up and down on the draft boards because of the level of competition that he played. And I like Shedeur Sanders. I like him. You know why I like him? Because how can you base a man's ability to play NFL football when he spent his whole collegiate career under pressure? And putting up the numbers that he did under that type of pressure says a lot about the man. I'm just saying. These are my final thoughts. I'll be back with you soon. I won't stay away as long as I did before. We got the draft coming up in a month. Looking forward to it.